So we are here with the first gentleman of Grace Chapel, Chris Schultz. Chris, everybody sees Pastor Courtney, kind of hears her preach and listens to her talk, particularly about her family. And you guys are always up in the front, right with her. But I want to know more about you. So would you mind sharing a little bit of your background with us?
Okay, so I was born in California. Then we moved to Dallas, to Coppell, not far down the road from here, in 1997 when I was in middle school. And then we moved, when I went to college in Arkansas, played soccer there for college, and then that's where I met Courtney. We got married the June after I graduated. She still had a year left, so we did 1 year where she was still in school. And then after she graduated, we moved back to where she's from in North Mississippi. Spent some time there, and then got transferred back here for work into the Dallas area, lived in Denton, and that's where we kind of really started our true faith journey, was at Faith United Methodist Church in Denton.
So your family's from California, you move to Dallas, go to college in Arkansas.
Yep.
Live in Mississippi.
Yep.
Then you come back to North Texas.
That's it.
Whole bunch of culture shock.
A lot of different places.
Okay, so what was that like for you? What was all the
A lot of different places.
Okay.
So yeah, California is definitely. We were in the valley, so it was a little bit more. We weren't like on the coast where everything's a lot more free and liberal in that area. I mean, in Bakersfield, California is not really the place that everybody would want to go to. Most people try to avoid Bakersfield. But that's where I was born and lived for the first part of my life.
So you guys start re-engaging your faith when you move back to North Texas. When you start re-engaging your faith, were there some things you had to look at again or re-examine? Or some perspectives you may have had on life or whatever that you had to re-examine?
Oh, absolutely. Because we basically didn't go to college, all the way through college. We didn't go to church. I went to church a little bit when I was in high school, just kind of here and there. Went to the youth group a couple times a month, maybe, but didn't really worship a lot. It was really just go to youth group, and then I was playing competitive soccer at the time, and unfortunately the high schoolers play on Sunday mornings. So I kind of fell out of going to church in high school, and then all the way through college we just didn't really re-engage that. It wasn't until we kind of had some difficulties on the home front that kind of helped get us back into the church. So.
Okay, so I'm assuming when you were growing up, your parents had instilled some things into you, or being from Bakersfield in particular, like you shared, it's not the coast or not the California with the breezy, long flowing hair, surfing, like. No. Okay, so very different.
So agriculture and oil is basically all that's in Bakersfield.
Oil in California.
Yeah, Bakersfield.
This is new for me.
Yeah, a lot of people in the neighborhood from mostly Shell, a little bit of Chevron, but it was a big area for both agriculture and oil.
Okay, so I'm sure your parents instilled some things in you, right? So when you guys started getting back into church, was there anything particular you were just like, I believe, like my whole life I was holding on to this, and now I don't know if I can?
I don't know that there was anything that I was holding on to that I didn't, that I was like, well, that didn't work. I mean, as I started to get older and started to hear and get like engaged with voting and things like that, and politically, there were some things where I was kind of like, well, I thought this was one way, but that doesn't really compute with what I'm learning in the Bible. And really, looking at this as a grown-up rather than growing up as a kid, you kind of just learn the top level of the biblical stories. And so, getting into some more depth and some more detail and really studying into some of the biblical stories challenged my views on a couple of different political issues that I'd kind of held as kind of a pillar of my more political belief and not as much. But then when I looked at it from a faith lens, I was like, I don't know if I can believe that in that same way. Mostly along the lines of, like immigration's one thing I know. And then, just the way we look at taking care of people in the community, and taking care of people in, as a whole in our society.
Okay, that's helpful information. As I think through some of that, that you shared, I'm particularly interested because I want to fast forward a little bit. Here we are, right? You guys got back into church, right? Your wife answers a call to ordained ministry,
Right.
Okay, and now she's here, right, as the lead pastor here at Grace Chapel. That's a church that has a stance that I'd argue most churches do not have, and that is an open and affirming stance on homosexuality.
Correct.
What's that been like for you?
So that's been, at first it was a little bit of a challenge for me. I mean, to be honest, I was like, growing up down, most of my faith was kind of formed from a Southern lens, and that's not prevalent within other denominations, and has kind of never been. It was never something I thought about really, but it was something that was taught just at large in the churches in this area, and especially in Mississippi, when we were there, and it was something I always struggled with in that how can one group of people not be accepted? Was kind of, because that was always the stance, was this isn't acceptable in the eyes of God, and I was like, but why? Like, just when you start questioning that and thinking, why is it not acceptable? Why is that one thing the only thing that's not? I mean, that seemed to be the only thing that was really pushed, that was completely unacceptable, and that just didn't compute with me. And I didn't see that as something that would exclude. I didn't think those people should be excluded from the Bible, from the church in any way, any more so than any other group of people, and so. That was definitely one of the things that challenged me. And when we were looking at different passages in the Bible and kind of talking through it at home, I still can't. It still doesn't compute for me as to why anybody should be excluded from the church.
Okay, so now you reach a place in your life for one reason or another, essentially just studying Scripture.
Right.
Seems to have revealed that God has opened God's heart,
right,
and God's church to everybody.
Yes. From an immigration stance, there's a lot of talk of illegal immigrants and people being illegal, and when you start to meet people and talk to people and understand their stories, there's so many different barriers to them in their lives. And in the Bible, it's love the alien, take care of the people from other countries, embrace them, and that's something that I can't get behind. The whole keep everybody out, try to keep our country the same, and just don't help anybody. That just seems like the opposite of, and it's even the opposite of what you hear from both political parties, in that we need to help all these other people all over the world, but then but don't let them in. Don't let them in inside our walls. That's the line where we can help them in there, but not help them here. And it's like, but if they're able to and they want to make their way here, I think there should be a much easier path, and there's just not. There's barriers from their countries. There's barriers from our country. The systems are antiquated, and that's something that I feel strongly about, that we should work towards reform in that area.
So if you can, where does the church fit in all of that?
Oh, the church, I think, really drives home that you should love all the people, love everybody, and help. And I think the church can advocate on behalf of people that are being turned away, help. There's a lot of people that have gone down to the borders, that have that work with advocacy groups, that lobby. There's pastors and lay people that use their time, that donate their time to working through those causes of immigration reform, and to help people that have been incarcerated due to immigration or are being deported, and gives them a more fair representation than they would get otherwise. And I think that's in those ways, I think the church can help and should help.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.